Hello, everybody. Today we will be talking about digestion and the importance of strong digestion and why it is fundamental to healthy skin.
Yeah, it's a great
And
topic, and I think everybody is talking about digestion and skin, but can you explain why digestion and skin are related?
yeah, totally. So in Ayurveda, everything is about digestion. We are what we eat, we are when we eat, and what we put into our body builds our cells and also reflects on our skin, which is obviously one of our, the most visible cells on our body. And you often see people that are kind of glowing somehow, like from the inside out, and they have a really good digestion. They have been assimilating all the nutrients. They are following a very healthy eating plan, and it just shows on their skin. And so we're talking today about how we can get strong digestion from an Ayurvedic perspective, so that we can have lovely, glowing, healthy skin. Because it doesn't really matter what you put on the outside. Well, it does. You can put whatever you want on the outside, but actually, unless you look at what you're putting on the inside, what you're taking in through food, through other senses, through what you're listening to, through what you're reading, through what you're subjecting yourself to, then you're not actually going to be properly giving your body everything it needs to feel nourished from the inside out. So when it comes to strong digestion and Ayurveda, was that the I've forgotten the question now? I've just been talking so much.
It's fine. Actually, when you started covering about the skincare, and I was thinking the question is what most people would think, like, so my cream or oil or whatever potion I put on my skin is not enough.
No, it's not enough. We have to look after what we're putting inside, because what we want our skin cells to be really healthy. We want to grow really healthy cells in our body. We want healthy organs. We want healthy digestion. And so Ayurveda is amazing for that. And I was always so shocked when I first learned Ayurveda and how simple it was, like how simple it is actually to balance your digestion. So like one of the main things that we talk about in order to really make sure your digestion is strong is meal times, for example. So, here in the West, we often hear people talking about, you need to have 6 meals a day. There's a big snacking culture here in the West. Lots of processed foods available. People are very time poor, and they have money to buy processed foods, which is maybe different to some of the other countries, especially in Asia and stuff, where everything's mostly home cooked and they don't really have so much processed food. So really, what Ayurveda is saying is we simplify everything, bring it all back down to simplicity. So what we say is 3 balanced meals a day, and they are taken at regular times, and you stick to a feeding and fasting routine. So you'll have feeding times, and then you'll have fasting times where all you're taking in really is like a herbal tea, warm water. You're not taking in lots of carbonated drinks, teas, coffees, that sort of thing, which we have a really bad habit of doing here in the West. So really, that's the main thing. So if we want to protect our digestion, we need to give it breaks throughout the day, so that when we're taking in the food, it's got enough time to digest everything, which takes up to 4 hours from the moment you put the food in for it to work its way through your stomach into your intestines, and for your stomach to be empty takes about 4 hours. If you're eating a main meal, it's a bit less with fruit. It's about 20 minutes with fruit, isn't it, Maria? I think.
Yes, it's about 20 minutes. And in general, I think it's not suggested to drink or eat within an hour after one meal. So if you've eaten your meal, then after that, you don't have your fruit, you don't have anything for at least an hour. Maybe you can talk a little bit why it's important to fast. As you said, it's 3 to 4 hours to digest one meal. And why do you need to fast in that time? Because what if I want some snack?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think when it comes to food, the mind takes over a lot. So, I'm bored, I'm going to eat. I'm feeling depressed, I'm going to eat. I'm lonely, I'm going to eat. I'm stressed, I'm going to eat. That's our go-to. And, I do it as well. So, I completely relate, as I'm sure you can as well. comfort eating, etc. But what the body actually needs, if you think that our body has been around for hundreds of thousands of years, you know, the human form, and it hasn't really changed since it was created all those many years ago. And what we were doing then is we were hunter gatherers. We were having maybe one meal a day, maybe two most. We were doing a lot of exercise, and our body is designed for that. So when we look at what our lifestyle is here in the modern world, we're very much sedentary. We're sitting around a lot. We're not really exercising. We're eating foods that are not necessarily local. They're not necessarily seasonal. And we're eating lots of processed foods, lots of processed sugars, etc. And it really affects our body. There's so much research now on inflammation, how sugar is affecting us. People are suffering with lots of digestive issues, inflammatory diseases, etc. And if we could just do this one simple thing, which is intermittent fasting, so many symptoms will go away. And I've seen it time and time again on the cleanses I've done, on the group cleanses that we do, how amazing people feel when they just cut out the snacking and they just allow their body to have 3 meals a day. And it's not easy to start with. It really isn't, because your mind is, I can't have it. And then, you feel like you're missing out. But you can actually put in other activities, like go for a nice walk in nature, drink some water. There's lots of things you can do to kind of trick your mind into being okay. But the body really needs that time, because if you imagine, if you're constantly feeding it and there's constantly food coming in, the stomach is never empty. It's constantly receiving something. And then the body's detox pathways are never really able to do their job, because your body is constantly just digesting food from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. And most people go to bed with food in their stomach. So even during the nighttime, when our body has its natural detox pathways are opening, and it's like cleaning the system, because our bodies are like amazing machines. They're designed for that. It's full of food. So again, it can't detox the liver. It can't detox the other organs. It's got to just focus on digestion. It takes up so much energy. Our body uses so much energy to digest all the time. So, there are millions of reasons why intermittent fasting is brilliant. That's just a couple of examples that I've given you there.
Yeah, no, it was really great, very informative. And can you give some tips for improving digestive fire and increasing, improving your digestion in general?
Sure, yeah. Lots of tips that I can think of that I've learned from Ayurveda and my own experiences. So what they say let's talk about portion size for a minute, because I think this is quite important. I was shocked again when I found out how big the human stomach is and how much food is actually in a portion, which is like the size of your kind of cupped hands, really. That's the amount of food, if you think about what we have usually on our plates. So I think portion size is really important. But it's not just that. It's also making sure that the meal is balanced. So tips for good digestion, number one would be balancing your feeding and fasting times. That's the number one. The second thing is creating a meal that has all of the Ayurvedic 6 tastes, which are sweet, sour, salty, astringent, pungent, and bitter. I might have said 1 too many. Yeah, no, I've got it. Yeah, 6. And they come in the forms of food, and they come in the forms of maybe some lemon or some salt and things like that. So having a meal that is not too large, that has all the 6 tastes, is the best kind of meal you can have for your body, because it basically balances everything. It satiates your body. It is the right amount of food at the right time, so your body can take all of the nutrients, assimilate, digest, metabolize, and then give your body enough time for all of that to go where it needs to go, for your body to send all the energy where it needs to go before you take in the next meal. I think they're 2 really important tips.
Okay. And any herbal remedies that you can recommend?
Yeah, Ayurvedic formulations, you mean? Yeah.
Anything, any homemade or Ayurvedic formulations, whatever comes to your mind.
I think your spice cupboard becomes your best friend when it's Ayurvedic nutrition. It opens up a whole world to me when I started learning about all the spices and how they really are your kitchen pharmacy. It's fascinating. So I like to make seasonal spice mixes. So I'll make a different spice mix for each season, depending on the qualities of the season, so the Ayurvedic qualities. So I find that by adding those into my cooking, it really helps my body digest. But even things like cumin, ginger, coriander, black pepper, turmeric, these are all like amazing. And then on the sweet spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, again, ginger. There are lots of spices that you can add. There are warming spices, which are really good if your digestion is very slow. And then there are cooling spices, which are really good if you're struggling with digestive issues like acid reflux and really like fast digestion. I think in terms of spices, like learning what the different spices do, and just getting playful in the kitchen with it and just seeing how you feel. And then another great tip is to take a piece of ginger with lemon and salt, just like a tiny little thumbnail, about 15 minutes before you have your main meal. And that really helps get the gastric juices going and helps your stomach be ready to receive the food, so that when it goes in, it's like, ready to break it all down.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Anything else that you want to add, or your top tip for digestion that you always use?
Yeah, I think actually the biggest game changer for me, and probably one of the hardest things to do, especially when you're working away from the home, is to have my main meal at lunchtime. And this is a massive one in Ayurveda. And it's actually how we always used to be before the Industrial Revolution. It was always, you would have a very light breakfast, and then you would have your main meal at lunchtime, like the protein meal, the heavy meal, the main meal of the day. And then in the evening, you would have a supper. So it would be like a supplementary meal, like something small. Because by doing that, then when you're going to bed, by the time you're ready for bed, say 10 o'clock, and you've had your main meal at lunchtime, something smaller around 5, 6 o'clock, your stomach is empty pretty much. And then you go to bed, and what then happens, as I mentioned earlier, is the detox pathways that are working throughout the night to cleanse your body, to clean it, to restore it, to rejuvenate it. They are able to just flow freely without putting all that energy into digesting food. So that's been the biggest game changer for me, and it has required me to rethink my meal planning, my food prep, and everything. So it is a biggie, but it is so beneficial.
Amazing. Okay, thank you.